ask people get to say anything. Someone can show me how blood works.
1 minute. Yes. Yes. Thank you, young Daniel. I always feel weird starting this stuff, but
So you're in
episode 1 of the GT Fit podcast. We have a sign, but we don't have a drill. Therefore, we don't have a sign today. But we're on. We're on.
Yeah.
I think the most fitting thing is we forgot that the podcast was on today, and Daniel was here quietly upstairs since 10 a.m. and it's now, almost 2?
And we really even still sparred and then just left him up here as well too.
Yeah, so not only did we forget and leave Daniel upstairs, but we also continued to train downstairs and beat each other up for 40 minutes before coming and trying to use our brains on a podcast.
Yeah, smart.
But it was good. I think that's like the perfect introduction to who we are.
That is actually.
So we're still sweating. We're still sweating a little bit.
I'm crying a little bit.
Trying to get our words together. And even now when Daniel's kind of like, nicely trying to tell us to start the podcast, we were watching some Muay Thai on the phone. So it's all good. But here we are. Episode 1, intro to GT. So a bit of a introduction, background on who we are, what we do, what our point of difference is with what you see elsewhere. I know we have some hot topics to discuss in the world of fitness and our opinions and the way we go about things. So let's get cracking into it. So I guess I'll start with GT Fitness and Performance was formed 4 years ago in the midst of COVID. I went out to get a job at a gym, at a Fitness First, and all of a sudden we went into lockdown and my contract was terminated, hence GT Fitness and Performance. So it all started trading people in my garage illegally, allegedly, illegally,
yes,
during lockdown and driving all around Sydney to then getting into a gym, building the business in the gym, Brandon coming on board, taking the team to another level, and then landing in Peakhurst 2 years ago, where now we have this elite, if I say so myself, personal training studio and a team of trainers who are really dedicated to making a change in the industry and really pushing good work and good training out there.
Setting the standard.
Setting the standard.
Resetting the standard or raising the standard, which is a big issue with the industry as a whole.
Brandon here is our head of PT manager, so he overlooks all the training, all the programming, all the mentoring for the boys. I float around still bits and pieces, I guess, but Brendan does all the heavy lifting.
George is just a pretty face around here.
Oh, you call me pretty? But that's his role, and he's been far out. How long have you been on now? And we worked together before we were even GT.
6 years now.
Yeah, that's a long time. They're definitely a big part of GT. So here we are, and we have a podcast to voice our many opinions now.
Many opinions on how we don't like where the industry is currently heading at the moment, I would say.
That's a good point to start. What do you think is the biggest thing with the personal training industry, and why do you think a lot of trainers out there can't get results for their clients?
Overload of information. Way too much information, too many different ways of doing things, and too many tribalistic mentalities of this is the only way to do it. I think the biggest thing that people overlook just in general when it comes to what they're doing with their training is how does it align with them as a person, their identity and what they're trying to become, right? Because if you follow your Instagram and you do the bro splits, the bodybuilding, the Instagram lifestyle of training, to me, that's not really indicative of high quality training. It's more indicative of, I want to go to the gym to show off that I go to the gym, and there's no real intention behind it other than a bit of vanity. And I just think the gym culture that's been created, maybe more so through younger generations, is just, to be honest with you, to be brutally honest, is pretty toxic. It's pretty crazy because how many times, 90% of my job I feel is just debunking myths or explaining to people why, yes, this will work, but this will also work, or that won't work for you because of this reason, right? But there's a lot of, as I said, tribalistic mentalities out there that have just think they have the holy grail to this diet's the only one that works, or this way of training, and it's to quote Mark Atterbury out of his book there, I believe it was something like, it's like the difference between two tradies arguing over what's better, a screwdriver or a hammer. It's like, well, depends on the job.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think, what we try to do is show people that what we do with training, what we're going to do in nutrition, it's specific to you.
Yeah.
You as a person, your unique case that you need. And also a big thing that really is I think something we need to normalize is how long result actually takes.
Yeah, how long is a piece of string?
Right, because
it really depends, right?
I see it a lot with clients. They come in and like, how long is this going to take? It's kind of like throwing it on me as a trainer, like how fast can you get me this result? But I'm not doing it. I can't control what you're doing outside of here. Of course, I'm going to guide and give direction and influence and things of that nature. But it really is, like you said there, how long is a piece of string? If you get someone that comes in super here and they're boom, 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 ready to go, you see people just turn over crazy results really fast. But a lot of the times that's not where people are at, because we overlook that's like we're gonna dive into this new thing that we're doing, whether it be like training. I've never trained before, but people overlook that you're already tired, not sleeping properly, you're stressed, the kids, all these tasks that we have. There's a multitude throughout the day. And we're adding this whole other layer in. And I think people don't realize that it is a different form of stress that's coming in, and you're adding in a whole nother task into your lifestyle that you now have to manage and adapt your life around. And I think people get the idea that just being in the gym and just changing some of your food is enough. And it's obviously that's not it.
I think you touched on like two really important things in the beginning there. One is like the identifying with certain things. So we see it a lot with nutrition, where people won't say they're following a keto diet. They say, I am keto. I am keto. I am vegetarian. I am this, I am that. And they identify with that way. And unfortunately, like you said, you see the trends online. What they're identifying with isn't really a lifestyle. It's a very extreme diet, which, they are tools that can be utilized correctly, but it's people jumping on the bandwagon without really understanding why. Yeah. And the why is very important. Another thing is that you mentioned was toxic. Like the industry does get a bit toxic. And, if we look at the history of a lot of our clients, they're intimidated of gyms. They've had bad experiences in gyms. They've had bad experiences with other health professionals because, maybe the diets were too extreme. The training was too hard and it wasn't tailored. So I think looking at what I believe we do really well is that initial phase where we bring someone in. Yep. We see their expectations, as you mentioned, like I want fast results. Well, do you know how stressful fast results are? Yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice everything else just for this? You might not really want fast results.
Yeah. Well, just to jump in on that one too, is like I see this all the time. Like I use an example back at them when people kind of expect faster results and stuff. I'm like, how many people have you come across that have just been on a starvation diet, as I call it, running on a treadmill, doing calorie tracking and macros, and just training like a madman, and you lose all this weight, but you feel terrible, you're not sleeping. And then again, like I always ask people when they've gone down that route, has anyone ever kept that result? I've never yet to see it, and if someone can show me, I would love to see it, but I just don't see it maintained. And even if someone does manage to keep the weight on, hormonally, you look at them, you go through blood works, and you go through habits and how they're feeling as a person, they're a sympathetic mess.
There's trade-offs. There's negative trade-offs.
Yeah. And I think this comes back to just a societal thing and like we're entitled to wanting things so fast because we're used to instant gratification. Yeah. Okay, I want a really nice restaurant meal. Boom, I order it on my phone. I can order my groceries to my house. So everything is instant. I post a photo, I get instant likes. And it's taken us so far from the reality of what the human body is. And also, we're taking out the element of human reward. Yeah. Like, why would you want things to be fast when you're going to sit there and you're in a position where you're learning new skills, learning to be a new person? And people look at that as like a confronting, daunting thing. I don't know about you, but I look at that as like exciting. Yeah. It's like, cool, I'm going to learn new things here and become stronger that I can then apply to other aspects of life. And I think it's just a mentality that we need to encourage back into people, that things take time. It's not a rush. It really is going to take a long time. And the longer the time you're spending in the gym building yourself, it just means you're gaining more knowledge, more skills, more things that you can then utilize on yourself, other people, your kids, right? Imagine like it's crazy. Like it's taken us, I'd say, a good 6 or 7 years of studying and learning every single day, upskilling, doing the stuff that you do to get to the stage you're at. And it's crazy that people think that they're going to spend 6 months in the gym and they think they know everything about it. No. Right? Programming wise and stuff. Yeah.
Watch a 1 minute TikTok.
That's it. But,
even to go back to the fast results, I think there's another element where people do get results fast, and we definitely see it here. They get results fast, but they don't. There's that too. But there's also what you don't actually know what a fast result is. So for someone who expects to lose 2 kilos a week, but is losing half a kilo a week, well, half a kilo a week is actually fast results.
really fast.
That's fantastic.
It's incredible.
But I think sometimes it's not even about fast results. It's like mismanaging expectations, mismanaging their own expectations. And on us as trainers, it's very important to set the expectation and manage the expectation too from the very beginning and have that understanding with the person. So yeah, like we know, half a kilo to a kilo a week, we're cruising. We're doing great. And we definitely see that here. And then there's other people who have higher stress in their life, and there's other priorities that need to be addressed first before we can get to the stage where we can actually facilitate that kind of weight loss, for example, as a weight loss goal. But yeah, you do definitely get people who are like, no, I want to be losing 2 kilos a week. Well, that's not necessarily realistic. Yeah. It's not that it can't happen, but how long are you going to keep that? We've seen this with like The Biggest Loser, right? Where there's these big drops and it's celebrated, but we also see what happens to them after the show. Never maintained it, right? Yeah. Whereas if you really do things the right way, really understand it, and start like building those healthy habits, you solidify that weight loss. Yeah. Again, using weight loss as the example. And I do believe that's fast results.
Yeah. Well. I think the big thing too is going back is like when you are, it's like people always want the next thing. Yeah. And it's like, you say you go to a gym and you start training and you're already the fact just stepping foot in a gym now to me that's a net positive. That's a gain because you weren't doing that before, and that's the thing. But we don't look at wins as wins. We just look, if I haven't got the goal there, I'm failing. And that's just a miserable existence, because if you can't appreciate the short-term victories along the way, that's what actually accumulates the win, because that's how you're seeing your process of getting to where you want to be. Again, I think that's a societal thing. It's always, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? We're never satisfied with what we have. And I think just a good time to stop and reflect and look around and go, hey, look, I've been let's say you're your parent, you've never trained in a gym in your life, right? And you're working, stress, yada, yada. And if you've just gone to the gym, let's say a month, like 3 days a week consistently, that's a win. Yeah, that's a massive win, right? And it's like people will just overlook the smallest things like that. And then because therein lies the issue, is that result is such a long-term thing, they get deterred because they go in for a year, 6 months, whatever it may be, and they're not where they want to be, and they're not seeing those short-term wins. This is not working, give up, right? And we walk away from it.
And this is why something really important that we do here is we focus in the gym, we're focusing on the performance. We're not training for weight loss. Again, using weight loss as the goal.
It's a byproduct.
Weight loss is a byproduct of the good training and of the nutrition. But it's not like, because there's this whole stigma around like cardio equals weight loss. That's the whole idea. It's not. It's cardiovascular. It's fitness. Yes, you can lose weight doing cardio, but you can lose weight doing a lot of different things.
You can also lose a lot of muscle mass doing tons of cardio.
Exactly. Right? But it has its place, right? Yeah. But the way we approach it and the way we want people to view it is that they're in the gym to perform. They're there to get better. And better could mean increasing your weight. It could mean lifting more, like more reps. It could be doing more sets. It could be progressing to more advanced movements. But there's many ways where we track that progress and that performance, and we start to build it around that. And it's not to like kind of take away from the weight loss, but we don't want it. We want to have a bit of value in seeing the client seeing themselves be able to get under a barbell and squat with perfect technique. Or deadlift, where before, they might have hurt themselves deadlifting. And then, like you said, a byproduct of that, as well as nutrition and a healthy lifestyle, is weight loss.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, one little thing, too, is, going back to it, people fixate too much on one specific thing, where it's like weight loss, right? Yeah. But it's like, all right, well, let's take a look at the body. You got dysfunctional hips, got neck pain, all these issues. I've got injuries popping up. And it's like, we don't look at the gym as a supplement to be fixing those issues too. And I see this a lot too, where people have this hesitancy, like, I don't want to build muscle, I don't want to get bigger. But it's like, well, the reason that you're in pain and have, say neck issues, your kyphosis, whatever the issue may be, tight quads, your hip, your anterior pelvic tilt, that's because there's a lack of strength and muscle in certain areas. And so that's one big thing too that I really like to get around too when you're saying to people, like I always say, clients, we need to build muscle, but I think people get the idea like, you're turning into a bodybuilder. It's like, no, one, have some respect for bodybuilders. I mean, they train all their life to get to that size, and a lot of steroids and a lot of, not all, but most, right? Yeah. You're not going to just turn into a bodybuilder. But I think the culture of the gym is all about that, to look the best. And it's all, like I said, vanity. But to me, there's no value in any of that. Because if you as a person, right, identify yourself in a certain way, you're not happy with how you feel as a person, and, you're not feeling body confident or whatever it may be. You have insecurity issues and whatever else, and you use the gym as like a punishment thing to, I'm going to make my body look better. The problem is your perceptions of yourself are still there. And so then you then add all this other elements into like, okay, now I'm fixating on my body, and your mind actually isn't strong enough to deal with the vanity that comes alongside it. And that's another thing that I see is that people, they get ahead of themselves in what they want to do in the gym. It's like the way I talk about when we're fixing structural balance in the body, right? You can only be as strong as that weakest muscle. Right? And like if you want to be this dominant, strong, confident person, but your mind, you hate yourself and you hate the way you look, and you have to, have to always look the best just to be out in public and whatever else, your mind's not strong enough to deal with what is coming alongside that. And I think that's another big thing. Like I see this especially in the bodybuilding space, these young guys, and women as well too, that they train and they get all aesthetic and they think that that's going to be their happiness. And they get there and they realize, it did nothing. If anything, it's just made me more stressed because now I have to maintain this pressure and always look the best.
It's a new standard.
It's a new standard that you put on yourself. And it just, again, it comes back to becoming a toxic mindset. It's like the gym should be this beautiful thing that makes your life better. And it's there for you to, fix problems and, whatever it is that you're utilizing it for. But it becomes like a work thing almost for people. And I just think that there's such a bad way to look at it. Like, the eagerness and the rush to be the best at it. It's like, just relax, take your time, enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process. If you can't enjoy the process, you're not going to get the end goal, and that's as simple as that. And again, that's, I think, where the focus, it's always on that end goal, not looking at the steps that get you there.
Small wins.
It's that quote, I can't remember exactly how it goes. It's like people, they're jealous of what you have, but they're not jealous of how you got it.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't see the work that you put
They want to say,
there.
look, you got a six-pack. I want that. But you don't see what that person's gone through for the last 10, 15 years of their life. Every single day, consistently, right? And it's easy to say you want something, but can your actions back it up? If no, then guess what?
You don't actually want it.
You don't actually. Well, not even that. I would say that you're not ready yet, mindset-wise. Your perception's not quite there of yourself that you're ready to now go for that goal. And again, these are things that we overlook in the gym when people are entering or when they're starting, is the psychological aspect, right? Because at the end of the day, if your perception of yourself is bad, making your body better is not going to change that perception. No. You're now just a prisoner of your own mind, unfortunately.
That's something what I like asking our clients is there anything that they've gotten out of the experience that they didn't expect? Especially when you see them hit those big milestones. And a lot of the time, what they say is around how their mindset changed.
Yeah, it's always
so you see the people who get the really good transformations and physical results, and they're doing much better. And you notice, obviously we notice their mood improves and their energy improves, right? And you see, like, at first they're a bit shy and they keep to themselves, and then all of a sudden they're in the banter and teasing the trainers,
bullying
they're bullying us, and whatever, they like going, it's their second home. But a common answer I get is how much their mindset changed. It would be the biggest thing, and it's something that they don't expect. They never expected to work on coming in here, but their view of training changes because they see the way, before it was like you said, maybe walking on a treadmill, going for a run, starving themselves. Now it's, I'm still eating, I have a balanced lifestyle, I can still enjoy a meal with friends. But also, like, that whole mindset around training changes. It's not a chore to them anymore. Now it's something they enjoy. They want it to be part of their life.
It's like fascinating as a trainer because you get to, in a way, kind of almost be a little bit of a fly on the wall. And especially clients you've trained over the years. Like, I've watched some clients, like, go from people, like, genuinely not in a critical way, but in an empathetical kind of way of, like, not capable of being a part of life to growing into incredibly strong, amazing people. And, like, you get to watch that happen. And it's not because their body changed. It's not because that's a byproduct. It's because of those habits and the mentalities that you just steal around what it is to maintain being like someone who's healthy, right? Again, it's not about the vanity, it's the discipline.
Discipline equals freedom.
Discipline equals freedom.
Discipline equals freedom.
So going back to, like, the trainer side of thing, what do you think we do differently? Because you hear it a lot. Again, like, a lot of the time when people come to us, we're not the first trainer they've had.
No.
And we're definitely not the first fitness sort of space they've been to. They've tried their group training. They've been to commercial gyms. A lot of them have gym memberships that they don't use. What do you think the point of difference is here?
So I hear this word get thrown around a lot, but I really have to emphasize the emphasis we're putting on it because it's a throwaway word sometimes. tailored results.
Yes.
Right? I see people use tailored, and it's like a cookie cutter program that you're giving out to everyone.
How'd you tailor it?
How is that tailored?
How is it being tailored?
How is it
Explain
tailored
it to
if
me.
you're selling an open program to a multitude of people? That makes zero sense by definition. What we do is, and I say this to my clients too, like when we screen them, the first couple of weeks, it's like, I'm kind of seeing how you react to some of the things I'm giving you. How do you respond to the tasks I give you? I want to get to know how you are. But we go so in depth with screening, the nutritional side of things, that like literally it's taking 3 or 4 weeks for me of after doing that initial screening, you know, we're doing through nutrition and starting to get the training. After about 3 or 4 weeks, I can start to see a pattern and I start to learn my client, and then I'm going to start driving things through.
Yeah.
But I've never had a scenario with any client that I've had where I've repeated things over. It's always a unique scenario. There's overlaps and similarities, of course, but every single person that I'm dealing with, I'm approaching it in a different mindset. I'm approaching it in a different way that I'm speaking. The change for each client, because each person has a different battle and a different centerpiece of their training that they're battling through that you need to kind of work through. And I think that's something that we really do really, really well, is just that specifics of what everyone needs. Like if you go around the gym, you'll watch clients when they're training, and the programs are it's always different. Like there's similarities, like we have staple holds, we have a system and things of way that we do that we know that yield result and get you to being under a barbell, whatever it is, right? But the pathway to get there for every single person is different, and I think that really showcases the attention to detail and the knowledge base of what we have and what we're trying to utilize here. And again, like it's to some people it comes off a bit egotistical, but I really just think it should be an industry standard.
I think so too, and I think something I am very happy about is we definitely have the strongest team of trainers here that we've ever had.
Yeah.
And like you always kind of want to say that, but it's true. And I think the big thing about that is the constant, like they really want to develop. Like everyone here wants to, and us too. Like we still keep up with that.
You're never not learning, always.
You don't see anyone in here, any trainer in here that isn't looking to get to that next level. And it's amazing because they want to be critiqued and they want your help. And something I heard recently that you'll love actually the other day from Ryan Holiday was basically like not reading, not learning is basically being like functionally illiterate. So you have the ability to upskill and develop, but because you don't, you're functionally illiterate.
Yeah,
whereas someone who couldn't learn or doesn't know how to learn, doesn't have the resources to learn more, you can see them as sort of illiterate, not able to learn. But for, say, us, trainers in the industry, which I think you're alluding to as well, you should be always looking to upskill so you can give your best to your clients. And here, that's the biggest thing. We have a standard where we want you, we expect you to upskill and to improve.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now the standard doesn't really need to be pushed because everyone's here to actually get better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's lacked. And you know what? When you're off on your own, it's easy to get comfortable and to stay with what works for you and not look for that next level. You see it. And you see with good trainers who go off on their own, they can't maintain the same standard. And I think that's here.
I think a big thing, I think a big thing that happens with that there too is that they you get too focused around the money in the business because you're only focusing on you. Like when you're here and you have a team and it's almost in a good way, it's like friendly rivalry. Because you see one trainer excelling and you know you can't be left in the dirt. You want to bring up that intensity and then match it, right? And that's the one thing I see is that if we do something, the trainers are always coming up to me asking me, like, how do I do this, right? They're always looking to learn and know more. And that's what you should be looking for trainers as well too.
Yeah, and again, and that's a credit to, especially more recently, to you to all the one-on-one time with the guys and having, and they know they have that option to bring up their clients and see. So it's, when you're training here, you don't really just have one trainer. You have kind of everyone on your team.
I'm going through every little program there, and I'm making sure that standard is up to what we want in the gym.
I love it.
So, yeah.
All right, anyways, we're back on.
Wow.
All right, where we at?
Yeah.
Standard, upskilling. Yes. We're back. Upskilling. Yeah, that's where I think the big difference is. Yeah. When you're, especially like with a studio, and this is the reason why it's set up like this, is we have a team. Everyone has their role, and we have handpicked trainers who are looking for that development, looking to upskill, looking to be at that high level.
The big one too, like, this is something I've come across so much, and it's so cringy. and I'm sure there's going to be trainers that relate to this, the egotistical trainer.
Yeah.
The one that's all about them and what they want. And that's one thing I think is an absolute failure in the industry there too. The lack of empathy some trainers tend to have for clients. Like I think going back to it is like this is even a part of upskilling things you can work on is learning to have empathy for that client and learning what the client actually needs and getting out of your mindset of how you train and what you do as a trainer and distilling that onto people. That's a big thing too. I come across that so much, just trainers just wanting to do things, the way they want to train and forcing them on people. That's also another thing that doesn't really work there too. But as you learn more about being a coach and all that, this is things that you come to learn. And look, everyone starts somewhere and, it tends to, you'll learn it quickly. But I think that's another big thing too, that's big problem in the industry there, which is one thing we look out for. Like if trainer ego,
it doesn't matter what your credentials are.
Yeah, I don't care.
Well, that's the thing. Like when we're looking at bringing on a trainer here, it's more about attitude than it is skill. Like not to say that you're going to start training a client of ours without the skill,
of course,
but an attitude, like a trainer with a good attitude, can be molded and can learn.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who has the skill but attitude refuses to change and doesn't really align with us.
Yeah, being in absolutes, you know what I mean? Like
absolutes are never
this way. It's not a good way to be around things. And again, that's the lack of empathy.
Yeah,
that is a complete lack of empathy. And this is one thing that we're working on even now especially for trainers, is to have that authority. You actually have to have the empathy.
Yeah.
You have to understand your client, because if you understand, that's what can create the authority, and that's what is going to yield better results as a coach long term. I think the thing with PT, just as a thing, it's a very interesting job because it's not actually regulated the way that it should be. And there's not like there's a one way where they teach you how to do it. I mean, to be honest with you, the bar of entry for PT is a joke.
Yeah,
a 6 months online course, pretty easy.
You can do it in 3.
You can do it in 3.
Yeah.
If you're telling me after 3 months you think you know everything you need to know about the human body and people and the psychology of how people think, the relationship they have with food and training, you're crazy.
This is why the dropout rate's so high, though.
Yeah, it's 90%?
I think 90% across 5 years or something like that, but I know it's 80% across 2 years. Like, if I'm thinking back when I studied, there's only one other person who's still in the industry.
Yeah.
And he's great.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex Cassis. PTA. But they're great. They've been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
They're big on the upskilling, and they've developed a great service over there.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like one thing you'll see is like every gym, like the way we do things, you might go to a different gym that are also at a high skill level that might have a slight different approach.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
But the intention's
good. Right, and then we see that with our trainers.
Overlap, right?
Yeah, you see it with the trainers too. Like when you're going through programming, it's like I might program a specific way, and then the other trainer might do it a different way. And it looks like it's completely different, but you can see the narrative of what they're trying to do is going in the same direction. And that for me is really showcasing the understanding of how to program and what clients need and what you're trying to do. I
think for people who have had the negative experience around their training, whether it's with a trainer or not, I think that there's a comfort to one coming in here and getting to discuss everything first and seeing, this is what it's going to look like. This is what our training's like. And this is why we do it. And then meeting your trainer, the big thing is there's a reason for everything, right? And when you follow these diets and these extreme sort of plans and extreme training plans, extreme diet plans, you don't actually know why you're doing it. The why that you're doing it is I want to lose weight, right? But that's not why you're taking that approach. Why are you taking that approach? Whereas here, you get educated along the way on this is how it works. This is why we're doing this. Everything can come with an explanation. And that's one thing we're very critical of here is that whatever you do, you have to be able to explain.
Yeah.
As a coach here, you have to be able to explain why this exercise, why this rest time, why this nutrition, why.
You can't give a task if you don't understand why you're giving that task.
Exactly. But that's what's so comforting to clients, I feel, because you can, you see them then take it on and then they're educating their partners and their family, and it's an awesome thing. And I mean, that's why a lot of our clients refer other people to us is because they can explain it so well and they can describe what we do here so well and the reasons for it that other people can see the value as well. Yeah. But I think that's very important. Like if you're going to put in this sort of work to change yourself and to become a healthy person, you need to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, and this is where it perfectly ties into what I was saying before about like identity and like changing that identity, because like like think about it. If you're a person that identifies as a foodie and I love going out on weekends and stuff like that, and now you want to get fit and healthy, well, you're basically stretching out your personality to be someone you're not, to just adhere to these goals.
Yeah.
It makes more sense just to, just change the personality and how you perceive yourself, so then you can become that person, right? Because if you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, it's not going to work. It's the biggest thing there too. And it is, I'm starting to see it's become more normal about talking around identity creation, and it's like what you said before about Biggest Loser. That's a perfect example of just changing someone's environment, forcing weight loss, and then putting them back into their original environment. They haven't learnt how to be healthy people.
The environment part's good, but you also need the skill set, the identity and changing the identity.
And that goes on to like with a hands-on trainer that's overseeing everything. And that's what I kind of said before. It sounds like I'm almost being like, I guess, like kind of rude or a bit lazy. Or I'm like, no, it's not my goal, it's your goal. But that's also because I need you to learn it. If I do it for you, if I'm teaching you to cook food and I'm like, I'm cooking it and I do it all and then here you go, eat it. Have you learned how to cook that?
No, you don't know how to make that meal.
You need to learn and you need to do things yourself. And that's what a coach should be, is a guide. It shouldn't be someone that you go, get me a result and it's on your responsibility to get me. That's not how this works at all.
It's a do-with process.
Not a to-do-with process.
We're going to quote Mark a lot. I'm going to quote him twice right now. There's that. It's not a do-to process. Yes, mate. It's a do-with process. So we can't get the result from you, right? We have to do it together. Because we can't do the training for them. We can't eat the food for them. The other thing is something he said to me 4 years ago that always stuck with me, and I've used this so much with so many people, is you have to act like the person you want to be. So if you want to be 20 kilos lighter, if you want to gain 10 kilos of muscle, if you want to run a marathon, you got to take on the actions of that version of yourself. And it's pretty simple when you think of it like that, because it
makes perfect sense too,
it can be quite overwhelming. Where do I start? Well, think about it. If you were 20 kilos lighter, would you be going to the gym? How many times a week would you go to the gym?
What's your food like? What's your sleep
But
like?
would you still have balance? Can you still go out and have a meal with a friend? Yes, you can. Of course you can.
You've got a new skill there of discipline. That
exactly.
You can do.
And you're doing them because you want to, not because of a lack of preparation. One thing I always look for with people is language. And you mentioned speaking in absolutes earlier. And like a big one is when people say like, oh, you don't understand. I had to eat it. I had to have it. I have to. And the absolute. And I always look for it, and I always look to challenge it in the beginning. So again, mindset, as you mentioned, like, no, that's not what happened. You decided.
Do you care to explain to me why
you weren't forced? Was there a gun to your head? And the person said to you, you have to eat this piece of cake. If you wanted to eat that food.
That on that bit there, this is where it goes back to, this is a very ADHD conversation, I'm realizing, post-sparring brain. But that goes back to, see now I haven't just lost my train of thoughts where I was going. What did you just say?
I was saying about language. I was saying about if you don't use the excuse of if you had to do something, you wanted to do it. So let's say you felt like you had to eat bad food. It was a choice, and it's better for you in the long run.
That's what it is.
If you say, no, I wasn't prepared. My cravings got the best of me. I had this food. I shouldn't have had it. It doesn't align with what I want, but in the future, I'm going to do this and move forward.
So people create belief systems around things that they think they need. But for me, I'm like, really, what's happening is like if I was to go to most people, like, how do you go in, and if I was to get you just to sit statically right now, can you control your thought process? Can you regulate your body? Like, can you calm yourself down? Like, not really. So what that means is like your body's doing what it needs, and you're trying to understand what it's trying to tell you. And most clients, they don't actually have, and actually this is all clients, and this is good for anyone. This is not just like clients can do it. This is anyone who's not educated in the space of our industry and what you do, is that like you don't understand what these signals are getting. So like when a client goes to me, okay, I needed to eat that piece of chocolate. Well, in my language, that's like, I didn't eat enough food today. I'm energy deficient. I needed something with fast energy to spike my blood sugar because I've crashed and I'm in a sympathetic nervous system, right? And now I'm trying to get energy to push that. Oh, I needed to have that coffee at 3 p.m. because, you don't understand, I was so tired.
Why were you tired?
Why were you tired? Well, because maybe you're having coffee at 3 p.m. and now you're not sleeping because your adenosine receptors are being binded to by those same coffee receptors, which is going to stop your body's ability to sleep.
I have to. Instead of looking for the actual problem. But I think it's just a conversation of just being open with that and saying, look, you want to get better, you're seeking to improve here. If we keep running into this, you're not going to get your results. That's it. But what I want is, and you've heard this, and I've heard you do this a lot. Client comes up to me and says, I had pizza on the weekend. What's the follow-up?
Did you enjoy it?
Did you enjoy it?
Did you have fun with it?
Did you do it on your terms?
Yeah, it's good.
You had pizza?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. How was the rest of your week? Now, if you keep doing this...
Get back to your diet now. Let's go.
Weigh in. Take your measurements. Look, you're not on track.
Yeah, like you can't.
But other times you might... The pizza might keep you on track.
Sometimes you might need that pizza. Like, look, this is
Not
like, the one too. This is to go to the other opposite end of the spectrum there too. So you see that people that, like, they fixate on it and it becomes like this, I have to do this or I'm going to die mentality.
Yeah.
And then they become scared of food as well too.
Yeah,
like food shouldn't be a scary thing. Like at the end of the day, like I'm with my clients, obviously when someone's new to training, I'm very strict with training because you're not strong enough to have that pizza and then go back to your diet, right?
Yes.
But that's another thing, like when you progress deeper into training, you start to get those rewards. You start to get, like, for example, and this is not a thing, but life, you got to enjoy life too. It's not all just about being trained and jacked and being in the gym. No, you be healthy so you can go enjoy your life. So you can go have fun with your family and do all the stuff that you want to do. And you will sometimes you train like, I can go out on the weekend. I mean, I don't really drink alcohol, but I can go out and I can smash a whole pizza and then I get back into my week and I'm training, I'm back to it and I enjoy it. And
the decision, it was your choice to do it. The mentality is different. And what you said before about like not being strong enough, that is something you see in the beginning where you have to be a little more strict because you're not strong enough for those battles yet.
Yeah.
And what that means is, you start with the pizza, but then it leads to an ice cream afterwards. And then, I've thrown the day out already. Might as well have this. Might as well drink that. Yeah. And it spirals and spirals. Whereas, like, for most, a better rule to implement is, if you do, there's mistakes are made. We're not going to be perfect. We're looking for consistency, not perfection. If you do have a meal that you weren't meant to have or something you weren't meant to have, follow up with something healthy and get back on track. Stay on track. You're not even really off track.
Yeah, don't throw the toys out of the pan. Again, Mark one, I'm sorry.
Brain's gone.
Mark's taking all the great quotes. But
what is it?
The flat tire syndrome. Like if it's a good analogy. It's like, well, it's like when I see this a lot too, and they have pizza and then the whole week goes bad or whatever it is, right? It's like, well, if you got one flat tire, you wouldn't get out and go, my tire's flat.
Stab the other tires, exactly.
It's crazy to do that, but that's literally the same thing that people are doing with their food and their training even. Like, I missed one day, so I'll skip the whole week. It's like,
agreed. That's a perfect way to put it. And that's what people do, and that's where you're not strong enough for that battle yet. And we'll start a bit more strict with food, but then the goal is to get you to the point where we can plan a meal out. Go out and have this.
I want to get my clients to that point where I can be like, you can enjoy it. But now we get back to training.
Because you're strong enough to have that meal, then follow up with healthy meal after it.
And this literally applies to like a Gen Pop kind of client, right? Look, if you want to be an elite powerlifter or a fighter, and then you're going to have a lot more discipline around life. It's different.
It's a much bigger priority. Like, it's not just healthy living. It's a career or like a very intense hobby. Right? So it's a bit different. The rules change a little bit there. There's less leeway, but you go into that knowing that. For the general population who want to be healthier, lose some weight, improve their physique, you can have it. You can have it all, but you have to build there. You have to earn it. And when you do, it's amazing because this is the whole thing around the mindset too. And you see it. People are like, oh my God, I'm eating so much. I can't believe my weight's down. That's a common one too.
And I think that's a good piece of advice I could just give to people is like, if you do start training, you're going with a trainer that don't go in with your guard up and trying to go, no, I'm not going to change this. You're already, you become, it's an uncoachable mentality, but like the reality is you're going to need to change most of your habits on the way you are as a person. And like the big thing this is one thing that I see that this is a thing that's hard in coaching, especially in the modern days, is that people are really bad at taking critique these days. People take critique as an offensive thing. And I honestly got to say, if you think a critique's offensive, you need to grow up. Right? Because that comes from the ego brain. And I've always said this, the ego brain is the weak man's shield, right? You're not going to challenge my food. No, I'm not changing this. You're staying in your ego brain. It's the fox and the sour grapes analogy. Long story short, there's a fox and he's walking through the forest and he sees these grapes. He looks up at these grapes and he wants to go get these grapes. But he's climbing up and he jumps up and he just can't get the grapes no matter what he does. So then he just goes, well, you know what, screw this, I don't want those grapes anyway, and he walks off.
Yeah.
So that's cognitive dissonance. He's created and split his mind into a different belief system, even though he wants that thing.
Yeah.
But now he's deterring himself away from that goal. And that's basically a self-destructive mentality. And that's what, again, that's a big thing that happens a lot when you come in with the ego. You've got to be willing to change and do these tasks. And yeah, they're going to be hard and they're going to be uncomfortable. Get used to being uncomfortable, because that's what yields you happiness in life. Nothing that's worth doing is going to come easy.
Yeah. I will play devil's advocate, though. There's definitely times where the critique has come in a bad manner. So there's definitely people who've had it where they didn't get the right feedback.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and it wasn't delivered right. But we're talking about hearing what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Yeah.
There is a big difference between that and then someone who shouted at you because you did something wrong. Very different.
The thing that has to be distilled here is empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
right.
When I'm giving critique, I'm not like, all right, I'm
No.
giving critique and like energy I'm talking now. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what you did there is not actually the right way to do it.
Yeah,
This is
and
what you
here's
need
why.
to do, and this is why.
And
right?
it comes from a place of wanting to help the person
Well,
grow.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
funny thing too. Like I get friction with critique sometimes, but it's like, well, this person's willing to tell you the right thing of what you need to hear, because they care enough to
Yeah.
challenge you and go, hey, what you're doing here, I don't want you doing this because this is steering you in the wrong direction. I want
Yeah.
you doing this because I care enough. I want to see you better.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the empowerment side of things
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah.
Empowering the client.
Just that. I put my phone on silent there.
Yes. So rude. No, yeah, I agree.
I don't even know how.
It is very important.
There we go. Sorry, I don't know
It's
don't know how to put my phone on silent, so we'll just
So
get
we
rid of it.
throw it instead.
Yes.
Nice. I like it.
Mm.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought now. Wow.
You gotta keep up with the
Empowerment.
Brandon energy, George.
I saw the phone fly and I
This-
forgot what I was going to say.
To be honest,
But,
we're
yes.
keeping it tamed right now.
It is pretty
so-
tame at the moment. I think we're doing quite well. Well, I lost it. It's gone forever. What was it? Yes.
couldn't handle the phone throw.
The phone throw lost me.
Mm.
We were talking about empathy. We were talking about critique. But yes.
Empathy,
That's it.
critique.
Oh, I was saying, yeah,
clients,
like we need data. So we need people to just be honest and they
Mm.
have to be a bit vulnerable with us to be able to really help them.
Mm.
And sometimes it takes time and that's fine. You build trust. Trust is earned. Like with people.
That's what I do. I let them trust
But
it,
you-
then I destroy you. No,
But you build trust. It's instead of saying trust me, we build it with them.
Yeah.
And then they see that what we're doing is to help them and it works and that's when it comes together. But I think it's a hard conversation that people don't have sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's why you can't really get the real results.
It's interesting because, like, if you've ever had kids and you raise kids, coaching is very much just the same thing, right? It's very much the same thing. It's like you can't force people to do things. You got to kind of show them and let them
Yeah.
figure it out on their own and come to their own conclusions
Yeah.
sometimes, and a bit of a hands-off approach. And that's for coaches too. That's a big thing. You got to be patient with your clients. Sometimes you
Yes.
got to sow those seeds and you plant them, and then you just need to watch it grow and let
Yeah.
it come to clearly. There's been many times where I've said something and give a bit of a critique and it hasn't
Yeah.
really sunk in. I'm like, okay, cool, just do my thing and I'll let the client do what they think is right. And
Yeah.
you'll kind of and again, it's a bit of a harsh way of learning, but you'll let them fail. And
You
go,
have
cool. Now you see that this doesn't work. This is what we got to do. And that again, that's just an empathetical way of doing it. Instead of me going, that way is stupid. Do it this way because I know better than you. That's not going to work. And again, going back to having bad critique with trainers, I
Yeah.
have seen that happen a
And
lot
not just
too.
trainers, but
Yeah,
yeah.
trainers can be bullies. Don't be a testosterone head bully and just
Yeah.
bully your clients around. That's weak.
But-
I think that's stupid.
What you
Don't
said
like it.
around failure though as well, like that's one of that's something I touch on with pretty much everyone in the consultation when they first come in as well, is to not seek perfection, but focus on consistency, because you're not going to be perfect and we don't expect you to be perfect. Like, you're going to make mistakes and there's going to be slip-ups along the way. It's going to happen. It's inevitable, but perfection isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for consistency. We're looking for consistency.
Yep.
Things we can be consistent with. It's like the whole people get New Year's resolution. This is a perfect one. January comes around, I'm going to train 7 days a week hard. By Feb, it's over.
Yeah,
Right?
I've never
That's
trained
not
my life, though.
something- Yeah, but
never
it's not
trained my life.
something you can be consistent with.
crazy.
Or boot camps. This is why we don't do boot camps. And I'm sure there's people out there that do them well, but just smashing people is not the answer. Because you can get smashed for a little while and then you can't. Instead, it's more an approach of consistency.
But again, too, like that shows me the lack of knowledge. If you're again coaching people and you're just destroying them as hard as you can is a good way of coaching. Well, it shows me you don't understand how the central nervous system works, and you're not understanding your client. Again, like of empathy, to be a broken record. That's the biggest thing that is just a coaching thing that we've fallen away from.
Stop hitting.
I know it's so hard.
Anyone can make you tired.
Yes.
It doesn't take a good coach to make you tired.
No, I can just leg kick you repeatedly and that will get you tired.
That would get you tired. And we've learned that it builds muscle.
It does build muscle.
I need to stop blocking kicks.
It does.
Build my legs up. That way. That's a good strategy.
Transition into Muay Thai part of the...
Yeah. Muay Thai part of the podcast.
Yes.
We will now kick each other and see who quits first. How are we going on time?
Good.
So where were we at? Where were we at then? Any other points we want to hit that we can really clip up?
I think that's a good little intro and a window into where our minds are. I mean, as I said, today the brains are definitely not functioning on any cylinders right now. But no, I think it's good to we're giving a bit of thing of what we're about, and what we're trying to do, and what. Look, all of this, I don't know if I'm being too harsh on it, but I want this to be a standard across everywhere. I think it's funny how we have some industry, whether it be cooking or mechanic or whatever, and there's industry standards of how things done. Yeah. But the fitness doesn't seem to have that. It seems like people just want to create things the way they want it to do, but
there's some for show, but we know what those courses are like. These upskilling courses and requirements, but they're not. They don't. It's not upskilling. It's not really. And you know what? It's hard, and that's part of it. Yeah. And also, like you said, it's very easy to become qualified. That's part of it.
It's very easy to become qualified too. Therein lies an issue too. This is a big thing I see with highly qualified people, is that an over-engineering mentality.
There is, and there's also. Look, going back to what I said before, it's functionally illiterate. You see a lot of these people who have uni qualifications, not to knock on unis, but over the years, we've had a lot of trainers come and go, and a lot of people who were uni qualified did not have a willingness to learn.
No, they were
too by the book and leaning on what they had already learned, which, okay, good, use what you've learned. But you need to keep learning, and that's where this functionally illiterate comes in again. This term comes in again because they was just so unwilling, just very unwilling to improve and to learn new methods and to add to the toolkit. And
the book doesn't tell you how to navigate through someone's personality, for example.
It doesn't.
That doesn't teach you that.
No.
And you can have all the knowledge in the world about intricate little things, but if you don't know how to make that simplistic and understandable to a client and make it patentable.
Yeah.
If you can't make what you know patentable, that's a disconnect between coaching and that's what something you should look at is to make your stuff usable, right? Like, we can sit here and make this podcast full nerdy and just talk about, every little chemical detail and response and training mechanics and systems and that. And it's like, but then what am I doing? Am I sitting here trying to sound smart? Look how smart I am. I know big words, but how is that usable for someone? Yeah. And that's a big thing. Going back to what ego trainers, right?
You know what I think? I think personal training, and of course bias, I think we're essential. I don't think it's a luxury, personal training. I think it's something everyone should have. Everyone should have a coach.
It is, yeah.
And I really believe that we're the ones, when we look at the health field, we're the ones that are in the trenches with the people. And we're the ones that can be the most preventative. So therefore, we need to arm ourselves with knowledge. We need to really know how to navigate. And we also have to have that lack of ego to refer off to other amazing health practitioners and health professionals. So we can give the client the best experience and the best service possible to get themselves healthy. Because we do see a lot of different health conditions, injuries, things of that nature, but we're the ones that can really make a difference before there's a problem as well. Whereas we know in Australia there's a big issue with health where we have a curative health mentality, where we wait for a problem to occur before we deal with it. But we're in a position where we can be preventative. And I think I take that very seriously, that we're there and we can get ahead of problems and make sure that these nasty things don't have to happen around disease.
Don't wait to get sick, or don't wait for the injury to occur to do something about it. You can stop that injury from happening if you do the right methods of training and eating. That's a big one. Very big one too.
Outro. Episode 1 in the books. I feel like I'm less sweaty and I don't even smell as bad anymore. I feel good about myself right now.
If I stand up, there's going to be a patch of me still on this bench. It's disgusting.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
In the books. Episode 2. We might have a sign up.
We might have a sign up. And
Can we use a drill? We'll find out next time
ranting.
on GT Fit Podcast.
Read.